Hi, and welcome to another video blog of Mind and Scalpel. Oh, Alex is showing us Mind and Scalpel. I don't see them both. You're supposed to go both ways. Okay. Now you got it. Mind and Scalpel. All right. And today we're going to switch roles a little bit in that I am going to be the questioner, and Alex is going to answer the questions. And we're going to talk about something that's right in her area of expertise, and that is hypnosis. Okay, and I guess I'm supposed to introduce us, but I didn't. But I'm Kenneth Rothaus, a plastic surgeon, and one of the partners in Modrn Sanctuary and Modrn Beauty and Modrn MD. And Alexandra Janelli is our founder of Modrn Sanctuary and is a licensed and certified hypnotherapist. And she's going to talk about what hypnosis does. Because in my mind, hypnosis is in the movies, and somebody takes a little watch and goes back and forth and gets someone, when they hear the word newspaper, they start running around the room like a chicken, embarrassing themselves. But apparently hypnosis is quite different than just that. And that, Alex only does that if she's really upset with somebody, and otherwise does not do that. So I guess the main question is, you read about hypnosis or see about for things like common problems like smoking cessation, helping with weight loss. But I know those actually aren't necessarily your favorite things to do, and that you're sort of more interested in people's sort of everyday problems, and especially during COVID and the pandemic. And I'm obviously dating this blog a little bit because we're right in the middle of pandemic, and the first vaccines were shipped last week, and the Modrn vaccine is shipping this weekend. So I know that you have been really working with a lot of people as far as helping with anxiety and dealing with the stresses of not only life in general, but life during this pandemic. So can you sort of give us an idea of what hypnosis really is, what it does? Is it really someone with a watch going like that, or is it different than that? I mean, and what you could accomplish and how it can help everybody right now?
Sure. I think those are the great questions. And the basic place to start is always answering first and foremost, what is hypnosis? Because everyone's first association with hypnosis is the stage hypnotism, the pocket watch. It's very common that people ask that. So hypnosis, when you take it apart and break it down, really is a deep state of relaxation with an acute focus. So a lot of people think first and foremost that they're not going to remember anything that happens while they're in the hypnotic state, but that is not necessarily what is happening. So if we break it down even further into what is hypnosis, we want to talk about how we as hypnotherapists and behaviorists view the mind. And we break the mind into two separate parts, being the conscious mind and subconscious mind. The conscious mind is where your logic, your reason, your willpower, your deductive reasoning all lives. And it makes up about 12% of your mind. And the other 88% is what we call the subconscious mind. It's very illogical, it's irrational, it is what we call very reactive. And within the subconscious mind, you also have your primitive and your innate things that you do, right? You have your breathing and all the parts of your body that will naturally work, your fight or flight response. So when we break down how does the subconscious reactivity form and function, it's interesting to look at a child, right? When you're born with a fear of falling and fear of loud noise. Everything else becomes learned by association. So if you get bit by a dog as a child, you create an association in the subconscious mind that dogs are scary. Therefore, when you see a dog, your subconscious is going to react in its behavioral mechanism, even though the logical mind might come in afterwards to go, the dog's behind a fence, it's on a leash, it's a small dog. But you're going to have that reaction first and foremost. And everything from the moment that you're born until today becomes learned through association. So what hypnotherapy does is we go in to look at where are your root associations being created, right? If you remember as a child going to the doctor and the doctor, it was a very painful experience for you, you might develop a fear of doctors, which would be unfortunate for you, Dr. Rothaus, because we all need you. But you develop a fear. And what we want to understand is where that association was created and what really reinforced that as over the years to still be the association. And hypnosis goes in to open the conscious, move the conscious mind away to get into the subconscious, to really do the giver's gain of, you can have a different experience and here's why. But it has to resonate the most with you. And that's why the part of the hypnosis sessions is really talking about what is it you'd like to get out of it. A lot of people, if they came for fear of dogs, for example, they might say, my significant other is getting a dog. I really want to just be comfortable around them. I don't need to love it. But if I, as a hypnotherapist, go in and I'm like, you're going to love dogs, you're going to just think they're wonderful, you're going to potentially reject it because you have to buy into and believe on some level that that can be true. So hypnosis is really about this offering of alternative means, mechanisms, association that can be swapped out while keeping the mind happy. And that in basic is what hypnosis is. Again, deep state of relaxation, and then with an acute focus, where in that acute focus, we go in to provide alternative visualizations, experiences that you can like picture, pretend, play out, that will resonate on a subconscious level as a good swap to the mind. And then those behaviors begin to take more and more, and you'll see that play out in your new behavioral stance as you go through different experiences. Again,
Seems to be a lot of overlap with what you do and let's say what a psychologist might do, or even psychiatrists at times, because they deal with fear and inappropriate fears as well.
yeah.
When do you ever send someone to a psychiatrist, or what do you do that's different than the psychiatrist, or
Sure.
or what do you do that's the same? I'm trying to figure out for someone who's listening, well, and they're going to let's say they go to a therapist, and it's not working. Is there a reason that they should go to you? Are you going to be doing a little something different or take a different approach to it?
Great question. So I just wanted to clarify to the listeners, I am not a licensed therapist or psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker. The where I work is within the realm of things that have no medical etiology. If there is something heavier that we're dealing with, like depression, etc., I will work under the supervision of a psychiatrist. So there are times where I'm naturally just going to refer out, or have them start with a psychiatrist or psychologist or social worker to begin with, because I want to make sure they're getting the proper care first and foremost. But your question is very relevant because a lot of times I do get clients who are like, I see the benefit of having gone to see a psychiatrist. However, I'm not getting the forward momentum nor change in behaviors that I would like. And a lot of times I can wrap this into a few key points. One is when you're going into work with a psychiatrist or psychologist, you're creating an awareness of what is happening for you on a subconscious level. So again, you're creating this loop on the outside of understanding from the conscious mind what is happening to you on a subconscious level. Where it might not take people full circle is that they're not creating that new mechanism of the new association for the behavioral shift, right? You're not taking what you now know as an awareness to reformulate the behavior on a subconscious level. And that is where hypnosis can really be a powerful tool to take what you've learned and go, I see. So you are having a issue with food where you're using it as a compensating measure, right? But is that really the root association? And you get down to, this goes back to when I was a child and my mother told me I'm not allowed to eat, therefore it became a rebellion mechanism. And just having that awareness can be great to have awareness because that is the first step in a process, but it might not change the behavior. And that's where coming in as a hypnotherapist, we can go into maybe talk to your inner child, do sort of that inner child work of you're not the child anymore, you're the adult. And as an adult, you get to make the choices. And is this the choice that you really want to make? Or, we would really formulate it for what the person wants to get out of it using their terminology. But that's my belief, is that it really helps come full circle to get the behavioral shift for a lot of clients.
That's very interesting. So how do you create that shift? What do you do? How do you erase the old and make a new one, and then make sure the conscious mind associates with the new one and not the old one?
Right. So the first and foremost, if you came for a session with me, the first thing we're going to do is talk about what's going on.
Excuse me.
I let my clients lead with why now, right? Why are you coming to see me now? Not that it's a problem, but there's usually a trigger in their life that is causing them to start the process. And I want to understand, is there something very important? What are your motivations for coming in? Because some people, they're like, oh, my significant other really hates it and I'd like to change it for them. And it's not a problem, but it's not a deep internal desire to change for yourself, right? A lot of smokers will come in for that. The next step is to really talk about it, right? To have that awareness. The reason I actually ended up going back to school to get my life coaching certification, not because I ever wanted to be a life coach, because I never really bought into the term, but I wanted to learn new tools of how to ask the right questions, how to have new tools that I can work with. And what I took away was that asking people the right questions gets them thinking in a new way, right? Gets them visualizing it, thinking about it. And that's part of the process, because even in the awake conscious state, you can tap into these new ideas that are inspiring. And so that is the first part, to find out where are their bodies responding of that's exciting. I like that. And those are the words that from our pre-talk become formulations for what we call the hypnotic suggestions, right? So if they're like, wow, I want to feel confident, and when I feel confident, I feel like this, this, and this, and it looks like this, this, and this. And that's when you get into the hypnotic state. I curate that experience for you. But the next part of that is, how do you get into the hypnotic state? And really, it's very similar to meditation in a lot of ways. In order to get to the subconscious mind, we have to relax the conscious mind, because we use the conscious mind 90% of the day. We have to make things logical, rational, reasonable. So the process really looks like, if you looked at it linearly, we're going to start by just directing the mind, giving it things to think about, right? Once the body relaxes, the mind begins to follow suit. So I tell people, it's like falling asleep. You cannot make it happen. But if you allow the process to happen naturally, you will eventually fall asleep. So first step is, we're going to help you relax the body, right? It's like, I want you to think about what it would feel like if your shoulders began to relax. I want to draw your awareness and your attention to your hands, to your feet. And then as the mind is beginning to follow direction and follow suit, and the body relaxes, your mind begins to tailor in too. So I tell people, the analogy is, think of your mind like a net. When it's in the awake conscious state, the net is very tightly woven. Everything I say to you is going to go into that net to be dragged off, processed, and created and made into understandable associations. But as you begin to relax, same as sleep, that netting begins to open up. And the things that I say to you, instead of being caught in that net, begin to drift through. And there's this weird difference of, I'm listening versus just hearing it sort of flow through the mind. And that's the teeter-totter point of where you go from like really holding on to the conscious mind to letting go of it a bit more. Is it feels like you're falling asleep. And that, I always tell people in the first session, you might not get necessarily pushed past that point, because you're afraid that it doesn't feel logical. But once you don't, and again, disclaimer, you don't have to be in the deepest hypnotic state to get the benefit of the work. The deeper you go, the more out of body you are, which is why they've been using hypnosis. There's a not Douglas Elliman, that's a real estate broker. Elliman, who was a hypnotherapist in the medical field, he would use the hypnotic state to do procedures because you can get it to a place where you're like pinching people, they don't feel it. So when you're in those deeper states, there's a benefit to it. But again, it depends where you want to keep the client for the type of work. And when they're in that hypnotic state, that's where you slip in the suggestions. And then you bring them up and out. Most of the work happens when you leave my office, to be quite honest. You won't know necessarily if they took it all in. You can see it play out between sessions, what changed, what shifted.
Alex, this is really fascinating, and we've covered such a small amount of hypnosis. I mean, it was like my first two questions, and I have so many other questions that I'm sort of thinking that if you don't mind, maybe this video blog on hypnosis should be Hypnosis 1, and I think we're going to end up having Hypnosis 2, maybe Hypnosis 3. So why don't we say that this was our introduction to hypnosis, and that we could do hypnosis in more detail, because I have questions about hypnosis versus meditation. How are you different? How do you apply it to certain situations? So I would say I thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in to Mind and Scalpel, and we will be coming back with Alexandra Janelli with more information about hypnosis in one of our future video blogs. Thank you all. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome. I can't wait to answer all your questions, because obviously I like talking about it. And it is interesting. It's exciting to talk about. So we'll see you in part 2.
See you in part 2. Bye-bye.